Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can get a glimpse into the hearts of the great saints devoted to you, and that may inspire our heart to also become similarly devoted. Hare Krishna. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you today. And over the next few days, we will be looking at the prayer of Srila Prabhupada, which is called as Markine Bhagavad Dharma. I believe you sang that prayer just now. Okay, great. So through this prayer, Markine Bhagavad Dharma, we will try to discuss about what is the consciousness of a devotee, who's trying to do something extraordinarily difficult in the service of the Lord. And by that, we will try to also learn the principles of bhakti. So this is a new book that I am writing, and Krishna willing, it should come out by Prabhupada Appearance Day. So this is, I've been writing many analytical articles for almost 15 years now. But recently I tried to write more prayerful articles. So there's one new book which I have written, Prayers Inspired by Bhagavad Gita, which we'll show tomorrow morning. But I'm trying to write more in this genre. So way we will do it is, each of the lines. So this song, Boro Krupa Kaile Krishna, it has 15 stanzas. So each stanza has 2 lines. So I've taken each line and tried to render it in English poetry so that we can get a bit of a devotional feel for it. And then an emotional connect with it. And then I have written a prayerful reflection based on that. So what we will do is, we will read this and then I'll discuss based on that. That okay? So we have a second mic by any chance? Okay. So let us recite the. So this is the first stanza, first line. Boro Krupa Koile Krishna Adhamera Prati Adhamera Prati. So the English poetic is, such immense mercy have you shown. Can you repeat this? Such immense mercy have you shown, O Krishna, upon this soul fallen and forlorn. So it's like a Boro Krupa Kaile Krishna, such immense mercy have you shown. Adhamera Prati is fallen and forlorn. So the theme we'll discuss is that devotion sees what is present, not what is absent. So anyone would like to read? You have a mic, or without the mic also you can. If anybody till it's set up, if anybody has a mic in their throat, they can start reading. Yeah.
What's happening is the consciousness of the saints devoted to you. Here, Sri Prabhupada is saying that he has received immense mercy from you. Here, In ordinary life, no mercy would be seen. He is alone, with no followers accompanying him and awaiting him. He has no institutional back. His financial resources are next to nothing. Just
Yes. So it's generally when we try to understand a person. So, okay. I think I should change the background here. If I write in, so is this visible? Okay. So, devotion, we can understand devotion in many ways. One, of course, means devotion means we remember our Lord, we love our Lord. And that is definitely true. But that love for the Lord also has to reflect in how we look at the world. So, for example, if I am here in this material world and above us is the spiritual world, and from the material world, we want to go to the spiritual world. So, in one sense, our love is for the Lord. Now, Krishna exists at the summit of the spiritual world in Golok Vrindavan. So, our vision, our heart, our goal is there. At the same time, we can't go generally to the world, the spiritual world like this. We go to the spiritual world like this. What that means is we have to live in the material world and go through our life journey. Very, very few people just turn away from the world and maybe go to the Himalayas and just live completely disconnect from the world in the pursuit of God. And in our Vaishnava tradition, even those saints who renounce the world also engage with the world out of compassion. So we live in the world. And at that time, how we view the world is very important. So while we are looking at the world, we can look at all that is wrong in our life, all that is wrong in the world around us. And in some ways, that is not undesirable because this material world is a temporary place, it is a distressful place. And to the extent we are convinced that it is a distressful place, that is why we will want to go from here to Krishna's abode. Isn't it? Say if we are staying in a particular house and we want to shift to a better house. Now we need to be convinced this is not that great a house. Now, if this is a terrible house also, I just want to shift to somewhere else. So yes, the present, we should not be so attracted to the present house that we don't want to move anywhere else. At the same time, as long as we are in the house, we don't want to be cold and bitter and irritable. The present house may not be pleasant, but just because the house is not pleasant does not mean we have to make it unpleasant, isn't it? So the house may be a small house and we want to move to a bigger house. But, even a small house or a big house, no house is big enough for a person with a big temper. Is it? So that person can make whatever house, however big and mighty, they can make it unpleasant. So the idea is that while we are here, we need to have a positive attitude towards what is happening. So Krishna, so one understanding is that Krishna exists up there in the spiritual world. While that is true, another understanding is that Krishna exists everywhere. Krishna exists in the material world and in the spiritual world. Everything exists within Krishna. So if we have this understanding, that means whatever is happening in our life is also within the plan of Krishna. I will talk about the plan of Krishna a little bit later. But in our life, what is happening right now, we could look at what is wrong in our life, or we can look at what is right in our life. And that will determine how we can function in the world. So, broadly speaking, we can say the spiritual world is our home. And that is where we want to go, our eternal home. As Prabhupada would say, go back home, back to Godhead. At the same time, we could say the material world is like a hospital. Hmm? So here we need to get treated. The purpose of being in the hospital is not to make the hospital our home. Hmm? We want to go, the purpose of the hospital, success of the hospital is that the patient goes out of the hospital. But the patient goes home, not to the graveyard. Isn't it? So now, to ensure that the patient goes back home, the hospital has to have a good level of order. Now, no amount of order and structure and harmony in the hospital is going to make the hospital a happy place. Isn't it? Hospital is a place where there will be pain. But just because there is pain does not mean that the pain is to be increased. Isn't it? Even in the hospital, the pain needs to be minimized as much as possible. Like some people, I was just in the Bhakti hospital. I was giving some, it's a hospital in Mumbai where devotee doctors have come together and started um, uh, devotional as well as a philanthropic outreach combined together. So I was talking with some of the spiritual, there is a spiritual care department where people offer patients who are interested some emotional and spiritual support also. So quite often it happens that there's some patients are sick. Somebody might be young and healthy and energetic, and suddenly they fall sick. It's terrible for them. Their whole life's plan is upset because of if I fell sick, they got an accident. Now that's unavoidable. But sometimes what happens, people are sick and they make their caregiver sick of them. They're constantly blaming, constantly complaining, constantly being bitter. So now the first may be unavoidable. No, okay, we fell sick, we got the accident. But the second is definitely avoidable. So this is both. Now, in the hospital, when we say there has to be order, it is both the administrator's responsibility, also the patient's responsibility. Look at the positives. So, Srila Prabhupada is, in one sense, like a spiritual doctor. And he's going on a mission of spiritual healing to a distant country. And when he is coming to America, he is looking at this particular song, which is sung when he is on the boat Jaladuta. And he is on his way to America, is seeing the American coastline, he's going to land soon. At that time, he composed this song. And there was no plan that Srila Prabhupada had that he's going to publish this. It is later on some devotees just discovered it in his writings, in his diary somewhere. And then they asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, can we include this in the Vaishnava songbook? And his Prabhupada said, okay. So this was just Srila Prabhupada pouring his heart out to Krishna. This is one of the closest reflections that we get into Srila Prabhupada's heart. So, see, if somebody is giving a talk or somebody is writing a book, now if they are devotees, we also get a glimpse into their heart at that time. But generally, if somebody is giving a structured class, somebody is teaching writing a purport on a book or something like that, then it is often a glimpse at the heart through the head. Because through the head, the message is systematized, the message is structured. So now it is important through the head also sometimes a glimpse to the heart means the message becomes easier to understand. But sometimes, say, when a person is not intending that what I am speaking is to be preached to someone, is a class being given to someone. Like, so then they just are talking something, somebody's praying to the Lord, and we happen to be next to that devotee and we hear what that person is praying. Now they don't intend us to hear, but just we happen to be there. So then that is a glimpse into the heart of a person. Now to give a mundane parallel, sometimes in a movie, one character might express their other hero or a heroine may express their love for the other person. Now when they're in front of that person, what they express, okay, that's important. But if the other person is not there and somebody speaks something, now he said, nobody is hearing you at that time you are speaking. It's not a show. It's like the unvarnished glimpse into the heart. So, in one sense, this is what we are getting over here. In this particular prayer. And what is Srila Prabhupada's prayer? The first thing that comes out, that is indicative often of the consciousness of a person. There is a Prabhupada disciple, uh, Hanumat Preshak Maharaj, very intelligent, very analytical devotee. So whenever we talk on phone, the first question normally we would ask, "How are you?" His question is, "Where is your gross body?" Not where are you, where is your gross body? And the second question is, how is your subtle body? So,
How are you? This is and then.
oh God. So I remember I was talking with one Prabhupada disciple. He said, so I saw notice that he's tired. So Maharaj, do I need to shall we take a break now? We're having some philosophical discussions. He said, I need to surrender to Krishna in the mode of ignorance. I need to surrender to Krishna coming in the mode of ignorance. Coming in the form of the mode of ignorance. So anyway, what a person speaks is the first speak that often reveals what the person is thinking. So here, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is striking. Boro krupa koile Krishna. Krishna, you have been very, very merciful to me. And on one side, he's saying, Krishna, your mercy is very great. And I am adhamera prati. I am greatly unqualified. So this theme of I am not qualified, that will come towards one of the last verse also, when he says Bhakti nahi Veda nahi. I have no devotion and I have no knowledge of scripture. So Prabhupada in one sense talking about the title that he has been given, Bhakti Vedanta. So he's saying, I don't have any of these. But the thing is that what is it that Prabhupada is talking about as mercy over here? So generally, if somebody is an educator, somebody is a teacher, a preacher, now they need at least three things. They need an audience, some students, they need some assistants, and they need some arena. Arena is a place where you want to give a talk. So somebody may invited to give a talk, somebody in a particular university, somebody may invited to talk in a particular club or wherever. So you need some place, you need some people who are going to hear, and often if a talk is organized, you need some assistants. So now if we look at Srila Prabhupada, for him, he doesn't know whether there's going to be audience or not. He's going to America all alone. Does he have any assistants? He has no assistants. Nobody is traveling with him. Nobody is there to receive him. In fact, when he comes to America, the people who receive him, they are a Indian American family. There's Gopal Agarwal, and he is married to American woman Sally Agarwal. So now their father-in-law, Gopal Agarwal's father, had previously urged his son to arrange for some sponsorship for some sadhus to come there. And in those days, traveling abroad was quite difficult. Like now we can just take a flight and go. Within less than a day we reach. But a ship journey is not easy. So there had been almost half a dozen people for whom he had done the sponsorship, but none of them had come. And they had thought this will also be like that only. And when they got the telegram that Swamiji is actually coming, they were actually alarmed. Oh, where will he stay? How will we manage? So Prabhupada had never met them. In fact, when Prabhupada didn't even know this Mr. Agarwal very well. Prabhupada would often speak whenever after a class, people would talk with him. He would say, my spiritual master has tasked me with the vision of going abroad and sharing the message over there. So I'm looking for opportunities to go to the West. So then at that time, Mr. Agarwal had said, okay, I'll arrange this for you. And that time when Prabhupada had been in India, he had given up his family life. He had taken sannyas. He had no business. He had no permanent address also. So in many ways, actually, Prabhupada's the letter which came from the American embassy saying that your sponsorship papers have been sanctioned. They were forwarded 4 times. Like Prabhupada would stay in one place and then he would leave that place to go and stay in some other place. So at that time, he would give forwarding address. So now we have to thank the Indian postal system that actually it came to 4 times the letter was forwarded. And Prabhupada himself was pleasantly surprised at that. Oh, how did this work out? He had to think, oh, who is this Agarwal? Okay, that person. So it was something which just worked out amazingly at one level. So from a material perspective, Prabhupada has nothing. So he has no assistants, he has no organizational support either here or there. When Prabhupada's godbrothers had gone to America, at that time their entire visit had been funded by the Gaudiya Math. So the Gaudiya Math, Bhaktivedanta Thakur would personally arrange for funds to be sent for every month for their maintenance, their travel. And on top of that, they would also have proper correspondence so that if they were going to give talks over there, actually Bhaktivedanta Thakur would write down the speeches and the speeches would be sent to them. And then they would, of course, present the speeches with some adjustment. But it was more, in those times, reading out speeches was also like an accepted convention. So that's how it would be. So they had so much support. Now, as compared to that, Prabhupada had no support at all. So now, naturally, now as far as an arena, he doesn't know whether what is the arena going to be there, or rather, where is he going to speak? He doesn't know that. So there's a lot of uncertainty over here. So, can you go ahead? Who someone else would like to read? Any of the Matajis would like to read? Yeah. No, you can read a couple of paragraphs. You can read, then we can go behind to the Matajis also.
as if as if the utter inadequacy of human, institutional, or financial resources weren't bad enough, the one resource Srila Prabhupada did have, his own body, had sustained 2 heart attacks on 2 successive nights during the journey.
Yes. So no financial resources, no human resources, no institutional resources. So 40 rupees, by the some of you may know the story that at that time in 1965, there were very, very few Indians in America. And because there were very few Indians, Indian currency was not very easily convertible also. So actually, the 40 rupees which Prabhupada took with him from India to America, 1968 when he came back from America to India, from the airport when he had went to Ultadanga Junction, for that rickshaw, he paid those 40 rupees. So those went with him from India to America and came back from America to India. The same currency. So it was not usable at all. So it was not just next to nothing, it was actually nothing in terms of financial resources. So now, Prabhupada's body was that way quite sturdy. Prabhupada had a traveling job. His business required him to travel to various places. He had been into the pharmacy business before his farm. So he used to travel a lot. And in that sense, when Prabhupada got the heart attack, it was undiagnosed, it was untreated. Prabhupada diagnosed it himself. He had some pharmacy expertise. But in those days, see, this was not a passenger ship. It's a cargo ship. So cargo ship means there was no medical assistance available. And one of my friends is doing a bit of a research is doing his PhD in the 1960s India and 1960s West. So at that time, quite often, if there were like a 50-60 day ship, so especially if there were like the crew in the ship, sometimes people would get sickness and they would die. So they would actually just throw the body into the ocean. Because if you're going 60 days one place and then you're going to stay in that place for 10, 15 days and 60 days come back, then the body will start stinking. And how can you preserve the body? There's nothing to preserve the body also. So it is like a person who dies doesn't get any cremation also. So it was, you could say, from a spiritual perspective, from a cultural perspective, it was dangerous. There was no facility. At least in passenger ships, there would be some facility. What Prabhupada went on was a cargo ship. Like if we have trains, we have like passenger train and we have a mail train, malgadi as we say. Goods train, yeah, goods train. So what Prabhupada went on was a cargo ship. So it was a business lady. She had her own her business, and that ship would go over there. So there was no one to treat it. And in one sense, Prabhupada's health had been overall okay. The main problem for him had been his exhaustion, because he would be working so hard, sleeping as less as possible, even eating as less as possible, so that he could have money to print back to Godhead. He could have money to print the Bhagavatam. So see, when we are trying to do something challenging, there are certain challenges that we expect. But there are certain challenges which you don't expect. Say this India-Pakistan had a war, Operation Sindoor. So at that time, now from the opposite side, we will expect attack. But if we find that our own guns don't work properly, that is not to be expected, isn't it? Or our own side doesn't provide us supplies properly. Or just when our soldiers are supposed to fight, they start falling sick. Hey, what is happening over here? There are certain problems that are not expected. And in general, while every problem is difficult to face, which problem is more difficult to face, the expected or the unexpected? The unexpected is actually much more difficult to face. So what happens at that time? Because if it's an expected problem, both mentally we are prepared for it, and practically we may also plan something to do about it. But if it's a completely unexpected problem, then what it becomes is we just don't know what are we going to do about it. So for Srila Prabhupada, among the problems, the expected problem was that he had no support. He had no or low resources, support and resources. The support was financial or institutional or human resources. But the unexpected problem was that his heart attack. Now he didn't expect. Now from what we know about his life, he didn't have any major health problems before this. And even after that, Prabhupada was remarkably healthy. 68, he had a health crisis because which he had to come back to India. But otherwise, Prabhupada would go for walks every day. Prabhupada would take massage. And he did what he could to take care of his health. And his habits were fairly regulated. So he didn't have health problems. Now this can be extremely demoralizing. If suppose we are about to go on some major travel and we fall sick while we are about to start on the travel, or we're just on the travel, we think, just cancel the plan. I don't want to go at all. Or a normal human being, what they would be thinking is that if I land in America, first thing is, where is the hospital? I want to go and make sure that I do some diagnosis, make sure that everything is okay. There is no record that Prabhupada actually went to any hospital afterwards, once he came to America. So now heart attacks are not a minor thing. Now, of course, we don't know how severe the heart attack was. But what Prabhupada did say that it was 2 successive days, and third day, after second attack, he prayed to Krishna that, Krishna, if it happens the third time, I may not survive. Please, if you want me to carry my spiritual master's mission, please protect me. And Prabhupada said Krishna came in a vision and assured him that I'll take care of everything. So the first few days, Prabhupada had seasickness. Seasickness, people get sick and then they throw up. So it was quite it was not like dangerous, but it was very unpleasant. It was distressing. So he recovered from that, and then he got the heart attack. But after that, there was this Captain Pandya, and his wife was there, Mrs. Pandya. So Prabhupada, Krishna came in a dream, and Prabhupada said, I'll take care of everything. I have arranged everything. So this Captain Pandya said, when they were talking with Prabhupada, they said that, in my 40 years of traveling, the Atlantic has never been so peaceful. And Prabhupada said, Krishna has taken care of it. Then Mrs. Pandya said, Swamiji, you come back with us again, we'll have a peaceful journey. Prabhupada said, that is not what Krishna wants. Krishna wants me to be here with us. So the thing is that for Srila Prabhupada, when he's in America, he has nothing at a material level. And yet, what is the mercy that he's saying? Not just mercy, but Bodo Krupa Koile Krishna. Krishna, you are hugely merciful to me. So who would like to read this? We have somebody behind. Okay. Yeah.
Possibly the very fact that he
Sorry,
had been
in such a situation.
in such a situation,
Sorry.
what could he see as Krishna's mercy? Possibly the very fact that he had reached America after the perilous journey. He now had a chance to fulfill his spiritual master's instruction to share bhakti in the Western world. Though he had no facility for carrying out the mission, he was grateful that he had at least an opportunity.
Thank you. So this is the key point, that whenever we want to do some service, any service we want to do, often we want to look for facilities. What facility am I going to be given for this service? If we are told to preach, okay, then is there an area where I go and preach? Are there some people who can assist me? Do we have some contacts over there? Is there some guideline about what topics to speak? Is there some material that is there? There are facilities. And quite often, if facilities are not there, then we feel as if we are unsupported, or we are abandoned, or we are neglected, or even that, no, maybe we are being, somebody is doing some politics against us. So, often we look for facility. And it's natural, as human beings, we would like facilities. But for Srila Prabhupada, although there is no facility is none. But at least he has the opportunity. And Boro Krupa Koile Krishna Adhamera Prati. So Prabhupada is seeing that through that long journey, the very fact that I have been able to reach America, that I have survived and come to America, that itself is a great mercy of the Prabhupada, mercy of Krishna on him. And thus, as devotees, we need to see. Yes, we can always see what is lacking, what is absent, or what is present. Now we may say what is absent is so big that what is present becomes insignificant. And that may be true at one level. But we all have to start somewhere. And so for Srila Prabhupada, the very fact that Prabhupada was in some ways very humble, he was also very grounded. He said that if I had met my spiritual master a couple of years before, when did Prabhupada met his spiritual master? Which year? 1921. 1922, I think. 22. Yeah. So 1922, he met his spiritual master. So, so 22 he met, and now 65 he has gone abroad. So he said that if I had met my spiritual master a couple of years before, that is when I had not been married, I did not have a child, then I would have joined his mission full time. But he said, now that I have a family, it would be unfair to them that if I leave them now. So Prabhupada did his grahastha responsibilities diligently. Even while doing that, he was trying to write back to Godhead. He was trying to assist his God brothers in expanding the mission. He was doing various things. But he feels that, I have spent so many years not carrying out the instruction of my spiritual master. And now finally, I have an opportunity. And finally, he has come to America. So, when Prabhupada, so that is what he is grateful for. Now, once some devotees asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, your god brothers went to UK. So, why did you come to America? Now, Prabhupada, sometimes the Prabhupada had a great sense of humor. And sometimes what he spoke, is it like he's expressing his heart or he's making a lighter point? So it's difficult to know. And so Prabhupada said, my godbrothers tried in UK and they failed. He said that if I'm going to fail, let me fail and trying some other place. Now, of course, we could say there's another reason is that these godbrothers had gone in 1933. So before the Second World War, which is from 1940 to 1945 approximately, 39 to 45. So before the Second World War, Britain was a significant superpower. Britain had colonies practically all over the world. But after the Second World War, Britain was quite battered and America became the superpower. Of course, USSR was also a superpower, but somehow, although India allied with Soviet Russia never captured the Indian mind and the Indian imagination. It was not that Indians were dreaming, oh, we want to go to Russia. People went there for jobs, but that was never like a dream for people. So America had that glamour. So Prabhupada has come to America now. So at the end of his life, he has finally been able to come there. And that itself is a significantly extraordinary thing. And that is what Prabhupada is saying. This is Krishna, your mercy on me. Boro krupa koile Krishna. And Adhamera is, he's saying that mood, we'll come back to it later, is that I actually delayed acting on my spiritual master's instruction for so long. And many people would have said, it's unlikely that you will be able to go now. Even his sponsor, Sumti Morarji, she didn't want to meet him only. Prabhupada waited outside her office for several hours to meet. Now she didn't want to meet because her assistant was not ready to let Prabhupada meet him. And then finally she got to meet Prabhupada. Prabhupada just waited outside and she was coming outside her, going out, and she saw Swamiji waiting. Swamiji, what you have been waiting here? She said, yes, I've been waiting all day. So then she called Prabhupada inside and said, my assistants are telling me that, that you are quite elderly and America, the weather is not good. He says that sometimes you put it in a more poetic way. He says, Swamiji, you are so old and America is so cold. You may die over there. Now, when first time I had gone to America, it was 2014. So I had gone to Washington and I was staying in the temple. I woke up early, around 2:30 or 3 I woke up. I thought I'll go for a morning walk. So I looked at the temperature. It was about something like 11 degrees. So I thought, okay, I put on some warm clothes and went out for a walk. I walked a little bit and then I noticed that, my fingers could not move on the beads. And my lips were also not moving. I was trying to chant. And I picked up the phone. So when I had woken up, I had been a little groggy. So I had not noticed the temperature was not 11, it was minus 11. So I just quickly came back into the room. So the kind of coldness that is there, most of us who are in India, we can't even conceive that. So she had earnest concerns. She said, Swamiji, you are like my father. I can't send my father to his death. So Prabhupada was so sweet and so firm. He said, if you really treat me like your father, then will you not fulfill this last desire of your father? This is what my spiritual master wanted me to do. This is what my life is meant for. So Srila Prabhupada was aware of the risks and the dangers. But that he's great. He feels that I delayed it for so long, but somehow Krishna has made it happen. Krishna has made it happen. And this attitude, we often talk about gratitude. Now we understand that we all need to be grateful. But sometimes this attitude of gratitude, I'll make this last point and then we can have some reflection questions. So often this attitude of gratitude can be opposed by the philosophical teaching that this world is dukhalaya. That I met one devotee in UK. He was from Ukraine, and I met some devotees in Canada also like that. So anyway, he's from Ukraine. So he was a doctor over there in Ukraine, and now in UK he is running an Uber because the medical degree from there is not recognized in UK. So, but anyway, he was telling that many of my other friends and relatives and others, they are not. Some of them have died in the war. Some of them could not escape from there. Some of them are being forcibly conscripted into the war. So he said that at one level, he was asking me this question in the manner that, I feel fortunate and grateful that I could come to a country where there is vibrant Krishna consciousness. He was introduced to Bhakti there in Ukraine also. Right? He says that there's a country where at least I'm surviving, I'm able to take care of my family, and there's a good devotee community. So should I be? So I feel grateful. I feel fortunate that things have worked out nicely. But he said, I was talking with another devotee. He was telling me that all this is material and all this is temporary. So you should not let this lead you to forgetfulness that this world is a place of distress. So as devotees, should we remember that this world is a place of distress and not value whatever good things are happening in our life at a material level? Or should we value the good things? What do you think? Yes. Yes, good point. So you should value, like in a hospital, we should value the hospital if it is having good medical facilities. But if you start with this, oh, the facilities are so good, I'll make this hospital into my home only. No, no, that is not the point. So it's like, we will come to this theme later again. See, in life there is artha and there is paramartha. So artha can mean wealth, artha can refer to health, artha can be referred to anything of value. It can be good relationships, family situation. It can be a good environment, political stability and peace. Basic infrastructures are good. So that's all that is artha. Now paramartha is ultimately love for Krishna. So now we don't want to go to either extreme where we value only artha or we value only paramartha. We value both and we see artha as a means to paramartha. That artha enables us to function in this world so that we can achieve paramartha. So yes, there could be many things wrong in our material life also. Maybe our health is not as good as we like it to be. Maybe our family situation is not as conducive or comfortable as we may want it to be. Maybe we don't have as much financial freedom or financial strength as we would like it to be. That's all those are possible. But to whatever extent those are there, we can see that as Krishna's mercy. So, of course, for Srila Prabhupada, he was going to use whatever had happened for him. Now he's coming to America. You could see the material thing that he has come from India to America, and that trip is more or less successful. But for him, the material is going to be directly used for the spiritual. For us, we may use it in smaller or greater degrees, depending on the situation we are in. But overall, as devotees, we need to be able to see what is right in our life, not what is wrong in our life. Of course, we can see what is wrong, but if we start focusing too much on what is wrong, then we start becoming bitter. We start becoming very resentful. And that is not a pleasant state of consciousness to be in. So, just building on this point, when I travel across the world, almost like 8-9 months a year, I am outside India, going to various places, and I meet many devotees, Indian, non-Indian, across the world, and so many devotees are extremely dedicated to try to both practice themselves and share bhakti with others. Now, unfortunately, sometimes I see that the more dedicated a devotee is, sometimes the more dedicated they are, the more bitter they become. Which is unfortunate, but what happens is, say they're very dedicated. I want to preach in this area. I want to do this festival. I want to distribute books. I want to build a temple here. So what happens? They want to do it, but they feel others are not supporting them. The temple is not giving me this permission. The GBC is not allowing this to happen. They're not giving me the support. They're not giving me that. So because of that, while their sincerity, their earnestness is there to serve Krishna, but unfortunately, like that desire to serve Krishna leads to bitterness towards others. It's like, say, I want to, if some sannyasi is coming, that, I want to host them or I want to cook for them. The greater the desire to cook, if we don't get the opportunity, we become angry with others. Why did that person get the opportunity? Why did that person get? Why did I not get why did I not get this? Why did I not get that? So now the desire to serve is good, but that desire should actually lead to absorption in Krishna, a longing for Krishna, not bitterness towards others. So I will talk about this theme later again in future, but I'll conclude with this diagram over here. See, when we want to offering, we are doing offering to Krishna. We want to offer the world to Krishna. Offer the world to Krishna means we want to build a temple for Krishna. We want to start a program for Krishna. We want to do a festival for Krishna. We want to offer the world to Krishna. So we could say world, we want to offer world, yes or no. Now it's important, but what is also important is that we want to offer our heart to Krishna. Now offering the world is important, but offering the heart is just as important. We can say it is even more important. So offering the world is like the size of our service. We want to offer some big service to Krishna. Now offering our heart to Krishna is the spirit of our service, the bhav with which we do our service. So while both are important, the size and the spirit. So if we consider 4 quadrants like this, so offering the world and offering the heart. So among these, which quadrant is the best to be in? 4th, yes. We are offering our heart to Krishna. That means through our service, we are going closer to Krishna. And we are also offering the world to Krishna. So this is the best. Now among these, which is the worst? 2. Okay, so we are offering neither the world nor the heart. Now, what about the first and the third? 1 and 3. So third is, okay, we could say this is better. Now this is good, that is true, but it is good provided eventually we go this way. Isn't it? From here, if we go this way, then that is not good. That means, say, sometimes some people, they may want to give a big donation for a temple, but there should be a big plaque saying that I built this temple. Okay, I mean, that's not the best thing, but yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshi. Somehow they fix the mind on Krishna, somehow they offer, do some service to Krishna, and that's fair enough. It's not a bad thing. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to India, not many people became initiated disciples, but there are many people who became life members, and Prabhupada accepted their service. So that then they give a financial contribution, they use their influence in society to get some permissions for building the temples. So Prabhupada used that. So sometimes we may offer the size, but we are not offering the heart. So that is not so good. Now if we are offering the service in spirit, but it's not size, it's good. We will be going toward Krishna, but we may not be able to take many others towards Krishna. That's why ideally we would like to be in the 4th. Now, if we consider Srila Prabhupada's life, in many ways, you could say from 1922 to 66, or even till almost 68, we can say. 66 ISKCON started, but till 68, when he came back from India, not much was happening. But from 68, when he came back from India, 68 to 77, miraculous things happened. So, but when Prabhupada was in America also, when he was an unknown Swami walking on the streets of America, those who met him noticed that he was just so happy. There's no bitterness in him. He was happy that Krishna, that he had a opportunity to speak about Krishna, to write about Krishna, cook for Krishna, to sing for Krishna. And he was just happy doing that. So Prabhupada certainly wanted that he would also be able to offer the heart to Krishna. But not being able to offer the world to Krishna, but not being able to offer the world did not make him bitter in any way. And that's what we can be very eager to do lots of things for Krishna. But if they are not working out, that doesn't mean we start blaming this person and blaming that person. That I have an opportunity to serve Krishna. Let me at least make sure that I'm offering my heart to Krishna. So heart to Krishna means we do the service that we are doing enthusiastically. We do the service that we are doing gratefully. Sometimes we become so worried and agitated to offer the world to Krishna that in trying to offer the world to Krishna, we make our heart unofferable to Krishna. Because what happens? The heart can be so bitter, so angry, so even offensive toward other devotees. This devotee didn't do like this, that devotee didn't do like that. So that is counterproductive. So Prabhupada's greatness was that his heart did not become bitter towards anyone. Yes, he sometimes spoke somewhat critically about his god brothers who did not help him. But it was not that he was constantly criticizing them. Just contextually, he was telling that they didn't have the mission, the zeal which he had. But that was often to just instruct his disciples about specific points. He was never bitter about anyone. So we all can see from Prabhupada's example of how devotion is something which is seen in the appreciation of the heart, in the gratitude of the heart. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. Mainly 3 points. I started by discussing about Srila Prabhupada's situation. The situation was such that there were problems, both expected and unexpected. And both problems can be troubling. Expected problems also, not just because they are expected doesn't mean they're small problems. But unexpected was his health crisis. So the kind of problems he had, they were huge. And yet, even in this problematic situation, when he's facing such difficulties, these prayers, they give us a glimpse into his heart, like an unfiltered glimpse into his heart. So that glimpse, sometimes we get a glimpse through the head into the heart. But this is a directly into the heart of Srila Prabhupada we are seeing. So what do we see over here? That Srila Prabhupada is grateful. And he is grateful although he has no facility. He is grateful that he just has the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master. So we discussed about how, as devotees, we are living in the material world and we want to go to the spiritual world, but we don't go directly to the spiritual world. We go through the material world to the spiritual world. And that's why the spiritual world is like our home. This is like a hospital. So what is happening in the hospital, we shouldn't become too attached to that. But at the same time, we can't devalue that. So going home is paramartha. That is the ultimate purpose of life. And what is happening over here is artha. So we want to avoid both extremes. That only artha, we value it as, so what we value, we don't want to value only artha and don't want to value only paramartha. So we value both, but in proper priority. Proper priority means we see artha as a means to Paramartha. So Prabhupada is seeing the material opportunity that he has, and for that he is grateful. So Prabhupada also feels that I'm unworthy, because he's saying Boro Krupa, that is for the Boro Krupa is for the facility that he has given him. And he is saying the Adhamera that he talks about is that Adhamera is for the delay. Okay, let me not put it there. That I delayed coming over here. So for that he's saying that's why he's saying I'm unqualified. I'm coming late, but it's like better late than never. At least it has happened. And lastly, we discussed about keeping our consciousness. Our consciousness needs to be positive. We cannot let our heart become bitter. So we discussed this diagram about offering the world to Krishna and offering the heart to Krishna. So the worst is if you are offering neither. The best is if you are offering both. If you are offering the world, that is good, provided we learn to offer our heart also. Now this is better if you are at least offering the world, our heart, not the world. So Srila Prabhupada, although he had no success, no support, he, despite no support from anyone else, he was never bitter. He was still appreciative, he was still grateful. And that is actually something which we all can learn. Whatever situation we are in, devotion sees what is present, not what is absent. We can be aware of what is absent, but we should focus on what is present in our life, not what is absent in our life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there any quick question or comment? Yes, Prabhu.
How to maintain our consciousness, and while we are doing the offering the world, but cultivate the consciousness of offering the heart continuously. Sometimes we have while we are doing many things, we have the consciousness and why we are doing what we are doing, and we are grateful, and attitude of gratitude is there. Sometimes while craving for the size and big achievements, the heart is not exactly contemplating on Lord Krishna and the purpose. In how do we actually continuously do that?
It's a good question. Good question is basically a good way of my saying I don't know the answer. It is difficult. See, my understanding is that devotion is not just an emotion. It is more like the disposition, the overall orientation of emotion. So at a moment to moment level, it's going to be, yes, devotion is emotion. It's more or more disposition. Disposition means like the overall orientation of our emotion. As devotees, that if we are trying to do something for Krishna and it doesn't work, it is natural that we will feel disturbed. And it will be almost inhumane to expect someone to not be disturbed. So if Prabhupada came to know that they had tried to start a temple and they had to close down a temple, Prabhupada would be quite upset. He said, we should never close a temple, Prabhupada said. So there are setbacks, and the setbacks do affect. So the same Prabhupada, he had never been discouraged by anything when he went to America. So when in 1976 he is in India, and one Indian journalist asked him, Swami, there are so many spiritual movements which start when the founder is there, but after the founder departs, they collapse. Do you think the same thing will happen to your movement also? And Prabhupada replied, why are you discouraging me? And now, is Prabhupada the person who is going to get discouraged just by a question like that? No. The report said, no, Swamiji, I'm not discouraging. I'm just asking a question. And Prabhupada, that's correct, but your question is discouraging. Now, even an acharya, that they have different emotions and different frames of different emotions at different times. So, in terms of becoming so discouraged that he would give up practicing bhakti or sharing bhakti, that is not going to happen ever. But yes, if maybe before this particular interview, Prabhupada had heard about some leader having some problems here, something going wrong over there. So then that question comes, Prabhupada says, why are you discouraging me? So overall, we shouldn't feel guilty if sometimes our emotions are not always devotional. If there are times when they're not devotional, that's okay. But overall, a devotee never gives up the determination to serve Krishna. Like when the whole incident of Draupadi being dishonored happens, then after that, Krishna comes to meet the Pandavas in the forest. And when they come in the forest, at that time, Draupadi breaks down before Krishna. And she says, Krishna, I am your friend, I am your relative, I am your devotee. I deserved your protection. Why did you not protect me? Now, Krishna does not take a holier than thou attitude. My plan is perfect. How dare you question my plan? No. And Krishna actually almost takes like a human attitude. Krishna says, I didn't know that there was ever going to be a gambling match. If I had known, I would have prevented the gambling match from happening. I left because while the Rasi Yagya just got over, I got the news that a demon, Shalva, had attacked Dwarka, and I had to go there to protect the Dwarka. And as soon as I came to know what has happened, I immediately have come here. He says, from what I have heard in that assembly, everyone committed adharma. You were the only person who reminded others of dharma. He says, your actions, O Panchali, are glorious. And those who have insulted you will be punished. So he reassures her, doesn't get angry with her because of her questions. See, in any serious relationship, if we are in any serious or committed relationship, if the other person goes through certain emotions, where sometimes they get angry and snap at us, or they speak something which is not meant to be spoken, it is not that the relationship is going to break. So it's what applies in our normal relationship applies so much more in Krishna also. Now, Krishna's love for us is big enough to accommodate our anger, our doubt, our discouragement, our fear. So that is just a part of any relationship. So if you see the way Krishna talks about, say, if you consider Krishna and the relationship, Krishna and the devotee. So that's what the devotee does for Krishna. Krishna says that the devotee needs to be determined. Satatam kirtayanto ma yatantasya drudha vrataha. 9.14 he says, you be determined. But then in the 18th chapter, 1865, what does Krishna say? I am determined to love you. What is 1865? Not 18. Man mana mad bhakto madhya. No, before that, 1864. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyah shrunu me paramam vacha ishtosi me drudham iti tato vakshami te hitam. Krishna says ishtosi me drudham iti. What it means is that one way to translate it is that I am determined to love you. So Krishna says, I don't just love you, I am determined to love you. That means that even if we don't, see, it's like Krishna is determined to love us and we are determined to forget Krishna, sometimes like that. But Krishna doesn't abandon us because of that. So 1864, so when Krishna is determined to love us means that even if we go through certain emotions, it's not that as devotees, Krishna is going to hold those emotions against us. It's just a part of being human in this world. So there is complaining to God and complaining about God. So a devotee may complain. Krishna, this didn't work out or that didn't work out. It's just pouring out our heart to Krishna. But a devotee does not complain about God in the sense of bad mouthing God and causing others to lose their faith in God. Hmm? So that is something which a devotee does not do. But overall, I think if we understand, we don't have to, we understand that Krishna will understand us. That's one aspect. And the second aspect is we also need some sajatiya sangha. So one is Krishna understands our emotional ups and downs. And guhyam akhyati pruchati. That is very important because everybody will face difficult situations. So we need at least one or two devotee friends. So devotees who are sajatiya, those with whom we can talk, and they're not just like-minded, but we are able to share our heart with them. Sometimes there is some we are going through some doubt, some trouble. So I have seen when I go to America, there are many senior devotees, many Prabhupada disciples, sannyasis, gurus. Sometimes I go to them and I ask, can we talk for about 10-15 minutes? Sometimes they talk for 1, 2, 3 hours. Now, and it is quite often not just that they're talking with me particularly, but that for them also, if they are surrounded by their disciples, they may not be able to talk some things with their disciples, but somebody who is maybe 20-30 years in the moment, they can talk certain things with that person which they can't talk with others. And I have had this experience with my other devotee preachers also who go abroad. They say that they can talk with many deeper things. So we need some forum where we can talk it out, so that even when we are Buddha, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu mattaha sarvam pravartate, iti matva bhajante ma Buddha bhava samanvita. So even when Buddha means we are enlightened. But even when somebody is enlightened, the next verse is bodhayantaha parasparam. So why do the enlightened need to be enlightened? Isn't it? They're already enlightened. So they're enlightened in terms that they're clear about the destination. That Krishna is the goal of my life. But sometimes life can throw such a curved ball at us that we don't know, okay, Krishna is my destination. But how am I supposed to go to Krishna from this situation? What is happening in my life? So, how is Krishna acting in my life? How am I supposed to act in relationship with Krishna? That journey which we have to do, for that we need enlightenment. We need to talk with other devotees. So, in that sense, so if we consider these two definitions of enlightenment, that enlightenment is a destination. That means, what is the destination? We have understood that Krishna is the goal of my life. That understanding, a devotee is never deviated from that understanding. So, in that sense, we as devotees, we are firmly there. My life is meant for Krishna. But enlightenment is also a journey in the sense as that how to move toward Krishna. How to move toward Krishna in the particular situation I am facing right now. So, for that, sometimes even great devotees may need some guidance. So, we have Vyasadeva, who is a great acharya, and after writing the Bhagavatam, after writing the various scriptures, he's feeling discouraged, he's feeling dissatisfied. And he has some intuition, and Narad Muni comes and confirms that intuition. You should glorify the Lord directly. Prabhupada was trying to work through his business, and he wanted to financially support his spiritual master's mission. And nothing seemed to be working. At that time, while reading scripture, he came across the word Yasyaham Anugranami. That those whom I show special mercy, I take everything away from them. And he felt, is this what is happening in my life? Then he talked with one of his senior god brothers, and he said, yes, it seems, Swami, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, this is what is happening in your life. Abhay Babu, and Prabhupada was known that way. So we need to have friends at whatever level we are at. We need to have some friends with whom we can talk, and we can better able to process our emotions at that particular time. Does that answer the question? Thank you. Yes, Prabhu. You had a question? Let me know when to stop. We can continue later also. Okay. Okay. How to be grateful in every situation? Well, I don't think it's possible to be grateful for every situation. Sometimes terrible things happen in life. But there's a difference between being grateful for every situation and grateful in every situation. So if somebody gets a heart attack, or somebody in our family gets a heart attack, now it's very difficult to be grateful. I'm grateful you got a heart attack. What do you mean? You want me to die? So it's not like that. But the idea is that if somebody gets a heart attack, we can be grateful that maybe we have a supportive community around us who can help us at that particular time. Maybe it was diagnosed in quickly in time, so that it's getting treated. If we have some treatment available, maybe we can be grateful that we have some health insurance. So that's why when you talk about grateful, it's not always possible to be grateful for all situations. That is almost impossible. There's no reference ever that when Draupadi is dishonored, somebody tells us, be grateful this happened to you. Horrible. It will be monstrous to say something like that. Isn't it? Horrible things happen in life. But grateful in all situations. That even in this situation, I have my Bhakti which is helping me to deal with this shock. It is acting like a shock absorber for me. So we can look at what we can be grateful for, even in bad situations. So if we make a list of things that we are grateful for, that are of value in our life, and we revisit that list regularly, then we can be grateful. How to get rid of envy and start loving that person? I think that's a slightly different question from this topic. But I'll mention something briefly, but we can discuss about it later. Broadly speaking, we often think of that there is ego and humility. We think of that as like a bilateral thing. Two things are there. But actually, there are three over there. One side is ego, the other side is insecurity. And in between is humility. So, ego is I can do everything. I can do everything. I am God. That is Mayavad. Insecurity is I can do nothing. I am nothing. That is Shunyavad. So in between is I am something and I can do some things. Mamaiv amsho jivaloki. We are not zero, we are not everything. We are something. So generally, envy arises from insecurity. When we see somebody else is able to do something as well as we are able to do, or is able to do something better than what we are able to do, then we start feeling that, then what is my value? So if we understand that we are all a part of Team Krishna, every one of us, we are Sanatana, we are always, even if we don't perform, we are not going to be thrown out of Krishna's team. We're always a part of Team Krishna. So everybody has a role in Krishna's team. And at particular times and in particular services, one person's role may become very important. Like in cricket, when bowling is going on, the bowler's role becomes very important. The batter's role is not very important at that time. And there are other times when batting is there, the batsman's role becomes very important. So there are phases in our life, and there are phases when our role may not be that important. But that doesn't mean that we have no place in Krishna's team or we have lost our place. So if we can see these two things, that Krishna will always have a place for us. Always. That place will never be lost. And secondly, within Krishna's plane, different people may have more prominent roles at different times. So what is that English phrase? Every dog has its day. What it means is that everybody becomes prominent sometime in their lives. So, right now, within Krishna's plan, this particular devotee is playing a more prominent role. Now we can learn something. Okay, what is this devotee doing right? Can I learn to do that also? So rather than thinking I should not be feeling envious and try to crush that envy, we should see that envy is actually coming from insecurity. And if we can connect with Krishna, then that insecurity will go away. And then envy will also go away as a result. And especially if you can see, okay, we can say this is Krishna empowering this devotee. But what is the devotee also doing something right? Maybe the devotee, okay, then I can learn from that devotee. And what happens is generally, this is a big subject, but I'll quickly mention. See, what happens is when we envy others' achievement. Mhm. We very rarely envy others' commitment. Mhm. So quite often we don't even see others' commitment. All that we see is, oh, this person, so many people are appreciating this person giving the opportunity to do this service, this person is getting so much attention. But no, is it that they never did anything to get that? That's not like that. Maybe we say, oh no, this person, I don't see them being committed. But who knows? They might be committed behind the screen. And if you look at the karma philosophy, if somebody has a lot of talent in this life, that means they did some good karma in the previous life because of which they had the talent. So generally, if we started focusing on people's commitment rather than achievement, then most of the time envy will disappear and appreciation will start coming. Because in the material world, nothing is easy. And if anybody has achieved anything, they have had their struggles to achieve it. So of course, we can say some people's struggles are far more than others. But no, nothing worthwhile is easy for anyone. So if we see the commitment that they have had, then the envy will decrease and appreciation will increase. Okay. So, okay, shall we continue tomorrow? So tomorrow morning. Okay. So thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.